Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to my global audience. Walter Cotton back at you with another installment of My Patriot Report. As I promised during the last podcast, I'm going to use this podcast to provide you access to the tools that you can add to your MBDA grant response to enhance your ability to deliver services in your local market while also enhancing or expanding the amount that you can request from that particular grant asset. But at the end of the day, there is a provision in that grant for those of you who are delivering services in a local area where you may not have all of the complements that you need to provide a complete portfolio of solutions. There's a provision in there that allows you to add those solutions to your response, add those capabilities to your response via a memorandum of understanding. And what I've done is I've gone out and pulled together a cohort of subject matter experts that are willing to sign that MOU with you and enhance your ability to deliver those services in your community, but more importantly, on the front end of this thing, expand the ability that you have to ask for a larger portion of that grant. Now, if you remember, that grant is up to $2 million. So, depending on the geography that you're covering, depending on the solution mix you're putting together, that's going to determine how much you can ask from the Minority Business Development Agency to support your local area. These MOUs are going to be extremely valuable, so I'd ask that you pay attention. And if this works for you, reach out to us and we will go ahead and explain to you how you get the MOU into a relationship with your organization. And I looked away for a minute because I got to do a little bit of housekeeping right here. Because the last podcast generated a lot of requests from, and I mean a number of requests from people who hadn't read the MBDA's Notice of Intent to Fund. And they didn't recognize that there's a qualification step that you had to meet by the end of January, right? By 30 January, you were responsible for sending a email with a notice of intent to the Minority Business Development Agency, letting them know that you intend to go after this grant. If you have not taken that step, then you don't qualify to deliver the response, which is due on February 28th, and therefore the information that I'm sharing with you is not of value to you. So I just want to make sure that those of you who have not gone through that step recognize that this is not something that you can jump into midstream. You have to have already qualified for it in order to take advantage of the memorandum of understanding approach that I'm sharing with you today. That said, and without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to our subject matter expert in that area, Lorette Ferris. You all met her last week. And what Lorette is going to do is Lorette is going to give you a sneak peek into the access to capital approach that she utilizes, as well as the tool that she uses for that job. I'll come back at the end of her presentation and give you a little bit more information on how you contact us, how you access us for that MOU that you can add to your response. Well, Lorette, take it away.
So this is how the iBoss network works at um, onboarding businesses into an accelerator process in order for them to be reviewed prior to then moving them over to a system that investors get to take a look at them. So this particular screen is showing you the application process. Everything can be customized. So you're looking at an application I already have set up in my system. This particular program, this is telling you when they can apply. The applicant clicks the button and they start building their application, which I'll show you in a minute. Any customization is inclusive of deciding where you want to allow applications to come in from, so the system would stop applications that are outside of these particular areas. And when you want to talk about the specifics of the program you're doing, you get to detail that and any funding that becomes a part of what you're doing, what you may provide to the applicant, as well as what you would expect from the applicant, in this instance, by way of equity. So when the applicant enters, they come inside, and this is where their application would begin. So again, they get to see application. So you customize, again, this application itself. Any of the questions that you may want to understand from an applicant, you get to customize what you want to have there. Any documents you want to receive from them, you get to say it. So again, you customize the application, process the questions or the required documents. This again is where that applicant begins. And the applications, once they're in, have a review process that you can then take them through. So this is
Lorette, I
an
hate to disturb your stream of consciousness, but I just want to ask a critical question that may be in the
yes.
minds of the viewers, and that is this system that we are demonstrating, is it designed to affect the needs of incubator type clients? Is it designed to affect the needs of accelerator type clients? I mean, what population are we targeting with this?
You get to customize it, so you get to dictate who it's for. Accelerators use this platform. Incubators use this platform. Universities use this platform. Any groups that work with early stage startup companies in a collective, in a group fashion, utilize this. This is a platform that is very well known in the private equity early business place. It is, again, a back end that accelerators, incubators, universities get to utilize it for their group. But on the front end, it is a membership program, and the members are investors. So this is one of those platforms where you have groups of investors that's saying, hey, young early stage companies, show me what you have going on, and I'll let you know if I could possibly be interested in investing in you.
Understood.
Advisors like myself use the platform to source good opportunities. And for me, good opportunities are those I can help to get investor ready so that we can put them on the investor side. And I'll show you that side in a moment. Again,
Excellent.
right now,
One last question before I let you run wild with this is, my hallucination is what you're showing me is an application that has autonomy built into it. And what I mean by that is that there is a front end interface that the participant, right, could come to, whether they are incubator early stage or whether they are accelerator ready, and they can interact with this interface, populate it, and it's going to drive whether they go down the accelerator or drive whether they go down the incubator path. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. But I went back one slide to make that detail a little clearer to respond to your question. Again, we get to customize who we want to apply for whatever it is that we're doing, right? So what I'm showing you here is, this is a particular case where the companies can be operational in the early stage, operational in the growth stage. They can be a concept or start a business, or they could be a mature business. So any one of them they can select. Company profile is what I want from everyone, right? So depending upon how they're coming in, what I'm showing you now on the back end, we then get to select where we want to place them. So what I mean by that is, this is an example of two companies that have applied for this particular accelerator. So when I say there's a committee on the back end, whether it's members, investors, stakeholders who are the ones who are making the decision as to who passes through the process, this is the side that we're looking at, right? So this particular company has applied. This is their application that we're looking at. Well, the next click would be evaluation. The evaluation is those that's looking make some determination, whatever our criteria is, how well does this company suit? And that's where the evaluator gets to say, well, I think they should be in the screening process, or they made the first pass, or set them up for an interview, or maybe we should go on and allow them to go to the pitch event, or they did so well, we want to select them. But the point is, again, we get to even customize that path we want them to go in. There could be some companies that really aren't ready, and we may have an internal program to help them grow to be ready, or we may want to recommend them to an external program in order to help get them back to the next step. But those that are ready, we get to then make that selection process and move them to where they want to be. So does that answer your question, Walter?
Absolutely.
Okay. So again, we get to review them, make some determination as to what stage they go in. If we have 5 people who are on this committee that are looking at them, each of them get to make that particular assessment for where they believe that where the participant should land. So let me just go back again. So now what I'm basically saying is, now let's look at the ones that are actually selected. So if we have an accelerated process that we're looking for a select 20, we had 100 of them apply, and now we're down to that 20. Well, that 20 that we selected, let's make the assumption that they are the ones who are scalable and investable. Well, those are the ones that we now want to move them over to the angel investor ecosystem. So again, this is where they get to, there's, as you can see, this explains the program. And I wanted to make full mention that we get to determine what programs we want to send them to. We may have an acceleration program that they go to from here, or some JV partnerships, or a capital campaign, or the SSBCI capital program. We, from everything we had them go through, we get to determine which bucket they should land in. But at the end of the day, the fact that we're now going to have them set up their business profile within the angel investor ecosystem, not only do we continue to get to work with them where we are, but this is where we're introducing their business profile to angel investors. Okay, so you see everything could still be the same thing. We determine what areas they start applying, and there are the details. And now what are we doing? This again is the back end. This is my angel network platform. As companies apply to my angel network, you see that they're laid out here. This is the information that we have on them. Again, there is a team effort. There are members that on the back end, and those members could be committee, investors, stakeholders, whomever it is we put together, that we say, listen, we have companies applying for this program. We'd love for you to lend your eye and your voice to making some decisions as to whether you think they fit. So on this back end, that is where they're looking. And what happens on the front end for the entrepreneur, this is where they're building their profile that gets investors looking. So when I say we get them ready for investors, if they already have their stuff together, if they have a full-blown business plan where they can put their information in the overview, their pitch deck, their team, executive summary, financials, documents, and if there's any specific questions we want them to answer, we could set it out here. Well, this is what they are doing, the entrepreneurs are doing. By them uploading this information, that's this is the information investors on the front end can see. They don't have to make it public to the investors if they choose not to, but that's our purpose, to help them get attached to different forms of capital. So again, that's what's happening for them. They're posting this particular information, and I only, switch to one other, their pitch deck. All the rest of these really are the narratives that they just enter, right? But again, on the back end, the committee folks, again, whether they're investors, members, stakeholders, these are the type of things we get to do to rate the companies once they upload their profile. What level of interest? And again, we get to customize what we want to know or what we want to ask a committee member. So they get to rate how things look. Investors get to talk about their level of interest, whether they're just observing the company, considering it, committed, or whether they invested into it, depending upon what we want to invite them to. In this case, we wanted to invite them to pitch now to our membership of investors. Investors get to determine if they might want to co-invest. So trying to pull together a syndicate, 3 or 4 different investors into the one investment, any particular documents that we need from the investors. If there are events, again, if we could do scheduled pitch events, so we can lay out the events here. So these are the areas that happen on the back end in order for the investors to figure those things out. On this platform, because members are angel investors, and there are a lot of attorneys that work in the private equity space that are also members. Well, they've gotten together and created various documents to make this part of raising seed capital a little less expensive for these entrepreneurs. So certain documents such as your SAFE documents or convertible notes or unified debt funding, these are the things that are resources on this platform that the entrepreneurs have access to. And as it relates to investors, this is a platform that is known for accredited investors. These are some of the angel groups that are already members of the platform. And, just helped you to work through, again, angel groups, venture funds, and various startup programs. So this platform allows us to work from soup to nuts in attracting, onboarding potential candidates, taking them through a process for us to be able to see who fits in what bucket, who we can help further, or who may need additional outside assistance, then move them over so they can actually get exposure in 2 ways. Exposure to what investors are looking for by having them go through the process of their pitch deck, their executive summary, but we also give them an opportunity to actually get in front of real investors that if they're interested, they can start conversations on this platform directly with them.
Lorette, I think I got it. I think you've done a real good job of laying out the value of the asset and the relationship that you bring to the table. And so, of course, I look forward to you memorializing this so we could fit it into the grant response. But I have one burning question that I think someone who's looking at this may still be operating with, and that question is, how many member investors are there in this population? Are we talking 2 or 3, or how many member investors are out there?
Okay, so I would really have to guesstimate that number for you, but that guesstimation would probably be somewhere in the 400,000 range. This is truly, and they've been around for so long, it is one of the main angel investor networks that's out there.
So there you have it, folks. I mean, this is one of the better end-to-end solutions for those of you that are out there looking for access to capital. I mean, it deals with everything from your angel investor, right, all the way through crowdfunding. And there is a solution in there that will help those of you who, and I don't think anyone's going to be ready for that during this season, but those of you who are looking at public offering, Lorette has the competency to usher you through that particular door, that particular pathway as well. Well, the question is, how do you get access to that? Very simply, all you have to do is drop an email to the email address that you see on the screen indicating MOU. I would like an MOU. And fast, quick, and in a hurry, you're going to get a call back from one of our subject matter experts that's going to vet you, that's going to, ask you a few questions about, what it is you're intending to do with this MOU. And if you're able to answer the mail, if you're able to pass the muster, we'll get you an MOU so that you can add to your response that you're sending into the Minority Business Development Agency. We all know that that response is due on February 28th. So I wouldn't tally, right? I wouldn't dilly-dally with this. If it's something that you're interested in, let's go ahead and get it into your portfolio so that you can go ahead and include it within your response. And we will all sit back and go through the prayerful season that you get the award. Well, folks, that's about all I have for this session of my Patriot Report. During the next installment, I'm going to introduce you to the accelerator that you can add to your response so that you can maybe take your request for funding above that $2 million threshold that MBDA has in place. Sound good? Sounds good to me. Until next time, because that's about all I have for you for this session. My name is Walter Cotton, and I'm out.